Unwavering confidence is a lie. The fears never go away completely. They just don't linger as long. That is a quote from Chris Bumstead. And for those that don't know who he is the 6-time reigning champion of the Olympia. And the Olympia is like the mecca of bodybuilding, the best of the best. You can't go any higher than that, like the mecca. And as I was running this morning, which for those that know, I've been running quite a lot. I'm training for a 100-miler in December. But I was running on the Air Runner this morning. And I was listening to this podcast with C-Bum, which is his nickname for short, that was getting interviewed. And he hit me with that quote. And I audibly said yes. Like I was in the middle of my hour run and I was tired, body was hurting. And I said yes. Maybe the whole gym could probably hear me because that quote hit so deeply in my soul. Like that is exactly it. He said this again. Unwavering confidence is a lie. The fears never go away completely. They just don't linger as long. And that is exactly what we are talking about today. This is going to build off of last week's episode of The Nudge. And so whether you're on the path to your best body composition or physique, I know some of you that are listening that especially work with us, like, all right, like let's get to another level. Shameless plug, some of you are prepping up for our all women's lifting event coming up here in Columbus, Seattle, and South Carolina. Or some of you might be listening to and you have an idea, you have a dream, you have a nudge deep in your heart that you so deeply want to pursue. You think like, oh, what if I could do this thing? No matter what that is, this episode is going to hit home for you. I know it will in some area of your life. And before I dive in, I just first want to say thank you guys so much for not just listening, but sharing with me. I've got texts, I've got Instagram messages from like, oh, Kels, this sparked this idea, or oh, this part of it hit home. And just sharing it on your stories, I get pumped to hear the feedback, not just like I said to inflate my ego, but to really hear what's hitting home with you and to also know that this message, like seeking the edge, all right, we're pursuing it together. This is an action. It's not just a phrase. And so continue to share, continue to pursue what's deep in your heart. And I promise you, we're getting this far and wide across here. And so to give context, last week we talked about the nudge. We talked about that nudge, that small dream deep in your heart. And the main theme of last week, which if you haven't listened to, go back to it, is the biggest dreams start as the quietest whispers. The biggest dreams that you have start as the quietest whispers. And for some of you, you get a nudge, you get an idea, you get a whisper so deeply in your soul. You think about it for a moment. You get excited about the possibilities. You're like, oh, what if this thing? You know, oh, I could do this, or oh, this is exciting. And then boom. It's like the fear floodgates open up, baby. And all the reasons why you shouldn't, why you can't, why it won't work out, all the doubts, hesitations, every stinking reason why you should not do the thing that is actually deep in your heart come in. And this is what I call the fear zone. And there was a girl I was working out with specifically in the gym. This would have been a couple months ago. And I went up to her and, you know, she was newer to lifting. And I went up to her and I was like, you should do one of our all women's lifting events. Like, you're strong, like you could easily do it. And I told her all about it. I told her that the energy was insane, that it's women of all ages and skill levels. It's, yes, we have some high level, but we also have women that, you know, can lift a barbell. And I was like, man, like you could work towards a goal. I know you're kind of feeling that way. And I could feel her get so excited about it. Like I could just feel this energy well up of like, ooh, like what if I could actually do that? And it set in. And after about a minute when we were talking about it, once again, her eyes were lit up. She was thinking like, ooh, that would be so fun to train for, so fun to do, the energy, the environment. About a minute and I saw that excitement in her eyes slowly fade away. And I could tell her energy shifted. I could feel it in the air right there. It went from excitement, oh, like, yes, I'm so excited to do this thing, to drop of a hat. There's no way that I can do it. I can't lift that heavy. How do I train for it? There's going to be so many women that are stronger than me. I'm going to look like a fool. I don't want to fail. That's for somebody else. Well, I'll do it next time, right? I'll spectate this time. I'll do it next time. right? All of the reasons why she can't, why she shouldn't, popped into her head right there. All the doubts, the hesitations, all the justifications why she should just stay comfortable and stay exactly where she was instead of set an uncomfortable goal or set a goal that, she might have to face some of those fears. Automatically, her entire energy shifted and it went from, ooh, what if, to, ooh, I can't. And she has, in that moment, officially entered the fear zone. And there are 4 zones I talk about all the time. And actually, this upcoming Monday, if you're listening to this prior to October 21st in 2024, this upcoming Monday, I have one of the biggest announcements that I've made in quite some time that I've been working on since about February, April this year. And even in this announcement, I have these 4 zones incorporated into the smallest detail because I believe these 4 zones so deeply in my heart. And I've worked through these 4 zones and I see women come up against these 4 zones. And if I could convey this message to the world, like dreams will actually be pursued, goals will actually be obtained, and people will realize what they're actually capable of underneath, the God-given potential that is within them. And these 4 zones are what somebody goes through from where they're at towards where they want to go. And so the first zone here, and I want you to think with these 4 zones, think about circles, and like each circle is built on one another. So for example, zone 1 is really tiny. Zone 2 is a little bit bigger. Zone 3 is a little bit bigger. And then zone 4 is the biggest, encompassing all of those. So like each gets a little bit bigger, okay? Zone 1 here is what I call the comfort zone. Okay, and I'm not going to pretend like I've coined this. I saw this graphic and it just explained everything to me. I don't know whose it is. I'll try to make sure they get credit in the show notes here. But this zone 1 is the comfort zone. This is what I call the surviving but not thriving zone. This is the zone that many people stay at their entire life because they're honestly just afraid of that failure, or they haven't even given themselves permission to pursue the goal that's actually deep in their heart. That's a whole nother podcast that we will give context to, is giving yourself permission to become the person that you actually want to become and can become. But we're going to pin that for later. And so this zone, this comfort zone, the surviving, like you're surviving, okay? But that also doesn't mean you're thriving. Our heads above water, we're putting one foot in front of the other. God willing, we're waking up every single day. We're surviving, but we're actually not really thriving. And this zone isn't necessarily bad, right? I'm not trying to pin a bad zone on one another, but this zone steals people from the greatness within. In my opinion, this steals the God-given potential that He gave you deep inside your heart and what you're actually capable of. And the reason that the zone does this, and this is a sneaky zone, is because it's comfortable enough. Okay? It's safe enough. It's good enough. And so we justify why we should stay there. Okay. And this isn't conscious, guys. This is actually very subconscious. Is like, okay, well, I'm not so uncomfortable to take action. It's good enough. The word enough is so incredibly important there because that's what it is. It's enough. To change actually requires a good amount of energy. That's why this comfort zone is so tricky, because it's good enough, it's safe enough, it's comfortable enough. But what happens here is then we start justifying why we should stay there and not actually go for the thing that we want to go after. So let's relate this to fitness, because that's just the world that I live in, and I see a lot of people with it. Is like a lot of people will not make change until the discomfort is greater than their comfort. I'm going to say that one more time because I want you guys to really get this. A lot of people won't make change, won't invest in that program, won't actually start making different habitual changes until their discomfort with either their body or their health, God willing, something bad doesn't happen. They won't really change until sometimes, hopefully this doesn't take it, but sometimes it does, until they hit rock bottom. And that rock bottom doesn't mean completely terrible. For me, that rock bottom, in context to my journey, meant I looked in the mirror and I did not visibly see the Kelsey that I knew inside of me. She didn't look the same. She didn't have that fire in her eyes, and she just looked lost. So that discomfort was actually starting to be greater than me staying comfortable and it being good enough for me. And a lot of times it takes getting to that kind of threshold of discomfort to actually change, right? We don't want it to, but sometimes it does. And so this zone, this comfort zone, I like to also relate it to how our brain operates. Just kind of going theoretically wise, like why is this physiologically kind of hardwired into us to stay comfortable? The reason is because our brain is wired, / our body is wired for survival. It will do anything at all costs just to keep you alive. So this is why it can be so uncomfortable to make a change, is because let's say, for example, you get home from work, right? And you normally sit on your couch and you might eat some dinner and then you watch some Netflix and then you go to bed. That's just been your routine. Your brain loves predictability. Your brain loves known. Okay, this is what she's doing. This is what's happening. And your brain knows that, well, she's done this months previously. So most likely the probability is that she's going to stay alive during this. Right? There's not really too much threat of dying. There's not really too much threat of like, ooh, this thing could happen. Like it loves known, it loves predictability. And so your brain, like you're hardwired, it's a beautiful thing. It wants to keep you alive, but you're hardwired to actually stay exactly where you're at. Okay? Loves predictability. But this is why on the flip end, when we start to change or we start to step out of our comfort zone, it's like the big brain alarms go off of like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, ooh, like I don't like this. And the reason being is because it's unknown, because it's not predictable. Wait, you're going to the gym? No, you've sat on the couch, or you haven't gone to actually train for the last, X amount of months. And so it's going to try to pull you back to that comfort zone because that's predictable and that's known. It doesn't, like I said, mean that it's great for you. This zone, we're surviving. Yes, we're living. Yes, it's predictable, but it doesn't mean we're actually thriving, right? And so that's zone 1, our comfort zone. Okay, it's good enough, but it's actually holding you back from great. Okay. Number 2, so we make our way past that first comfort zone, and this is where actually a lot of people get stuck, is zone 2 is the fear zone. What I like to call this zone is the oh crap zone for those that are listening. It's that you have this goal, you have this dream, your desire. This could be improve your body composition or your fitness level. This could be sign up for that competition or event. This could be change jobs. This could be move across country, but automatically you push past that comfort zone and it's like the floodgates are right here and it says, oh no, what if you fail? What if you don't succeed? What if you can't actually get there? And so this fear zone many times is fictitious. Right? We make up these actually logical stories in our brain. It's not even that they're illogical. This zone is so tricky because these stories that we make up, it might be like, well, this isn't the best time for me or my family. That could be very logical. Or it also could be like, oh, you know what? I'll wait till 6 months from now to start it because I want to get these certain things done before this, right? I'm not saying make crazy decisions every single day of your life, but these are the stories that hold people back. And it's tricky because they seem logical. They seem justifiable. It makes sense. But what happens is when these stories make sense, they're actually just holding you back and just giving you kind of those floodgates to stop you from actually taking another step. And so when many people step out of that comfort zone, think about that dream, that goal, that desire, and then just like the girl that I talked about in our lifting competition, that fear zone automatically comes up and stops you from ever taking another step into zone 3. And so many people bump up against this zone, they get scared, and so they retreat. And even if you're pursuing a journey, I see this in fitness all the time with our women. Even if you said yes to the program, even if you are in coaching, even if you are on the journey, this zone doesn't completely go away. Now, I'm many years into this. This zone will still kind of come up at different levels. And so this is what I call kind of the barrier to where people have to pass through. As I tell every single one of our women, there is going to be a day, there is going to be maybe a few days, there's going to be a phase where you're bumping up against this barrier to where you've been to where you want to go. And that is exactly what this fear zone is. And our goal is to not bump up and then retreat, right? It's going to be challenging. It's going to be hard. It's going to give you curveballs. Our goal is to persist through. And those that persist through actually reach their goal. So this fear zone This held me back for years, guys, years, especially early on, because I automatically thought, well, if I'm a little bit afraid, or if I'm uncomfortable, or if I'm scared, that means it's not meant for me. Well, if I'm a little bit hesitant, like, ooh, can I actually do this? That means that I'm not actually able to, or I'm not capable of doing it. These are all stories I was talking about myself in my brain. I had amazing family, amazing mentors, amazing coaches in my life growing up. It wasn't like I was just this girl that had terrible people in her. Like, I had amazing people that instilled these things in me, and I still made these stories up in my brain. Still. And so with this fear zone, I always say, especially to our women lifting, it's okay to be scared, but do it anyway. You are going to be scared, just like C-bone. Unwavering confidence is a lie. The fears never go away completely. Don't hope and wish and pray for that day that your fears are poof gone. I hate to be a spoiler alert here. They are not ever going to be gone. New levels equals new a little bit of fear or doubt. Okay, and that's normal. Once again, it's physiologically hardwired in your brain. Your brain wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you stable. It wants to keep you consistent on what you've done before. And so it's okay to be fearful because you've never freaking done it before. You've never pursued that business. You've never pursued maybe this different type of body composition goal. So it makes sense, right? And so when we can emotionally detach from that, when we can be objective about it versus emotionally in it, ooh, that's the game changes for you. A lot of people will allow their emotions to roll and run their life. A lot of times in my life where it does. I don't feel like I'm to run right now, or I don't feel like finishing my power list. And I'm not perfect at it. I will tell you this through and through. This past weekend, I was supposed to run, I did run 16 miles back to back to prepare for this 100-miler. And I was like, oh, I'll wake up on Sunday morning. I'll do it. It was Sunday at 6 p.m. Or no, this is about 4 p.m. And I still have not run my 16 miles. And it was going to take 3 hours to do. And so even to this day, like, I'm not perfect of, always leaning into that discomfort. However, physiologically, when we can remove that emotion from it, when we cannot get wrapped up in, how you feel, but also what is going to be on the other side, that's when everything can change there, okay? So we go from that comfort zone. We bump up against that fear zone. About 90% of people will retreat back, which is why they keep replaying the same thing over and over and over in their life. And I've talked to people 10 years, I've talked to them 10 years prior, 10 years past, and they're still challenged with the same things because they'll bump up to that fear and then they'll just retreat. Every single time, and most of the times, guys, this is not conscious, this is subconscious, okay? They think something's come up or something's happened, when really it's just that their own brain's getting them in the way. So zone 1, comfort zone. Zone 2, fear zone. Zone 3, so a lot of people think, well, let me push through that fear zone, and then rainbows and sunshine. And then the sun is going to come up, the birds are going to start chirping, and I'm at the place that I want to be. And once again, a spoiler alert here, just to keep it incredibly real, is you don't get to that zone yet. You go through zone 3, which is the learning zone. And with what I call this zone is the wow, I have a ton to learn zone. And this is the zone that you do it scared. And I will also say this, you do it ugly. What I mean by that is it is not pretty. You are not going to be the best at the thing. You might actually start something and you might be like, wow, I didn't even know what I didn't even know. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times it's been in my life. You may mess up a few times or resistance come, but this is where you learn to get better, right? This is where we learn to actually take that step. And I cannot tell you, especially in the pursuit of Mission 48 or even the pursuit of what I'm going to announce on Monday, there's been so many times as I stepped through that fear zone of the what if, I stepped through it and I was met with on the other side of like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know about half this stuff. Like I didn't even know I needed to put a media kit together. And then how do I send it here? And then what email here? So you don't get to that place where it's just you're lifting 500 pounds on a platform. You get to that place where you show up. It's not that pretty. It might screw up a few times, but the goal for it here is you keep going. Once again, many people will stop in the fear zone. Just like the fear zone, many people will also stop in the learning zone. They'll stop here because it's like, wow, I'm not that great at it. So I guess it's just not meant for me. I played basketball back in high school and actually just shot with my girl after training this morning too. And I remember specifically when I was, trying to learn a new move or trying to learn how to, shoot this one shot. Like, I was terrible. I was not good. And for many people that kind of do that thing and they're not good at it, or I see this also with lifting weights all the time with women, is they get in there, they start, and they're like, oh, like this requires a lot of thought. Like, this requires a lot of like mental energy. And I'm like, yeah, it does. You're not going to be good initially. And when you can accept that, like, hey, I'm going to actually be a little bit terrible at this thing, then it allows you to just to keep showing up and keep putting the reps in. And there's a thought that, hey, if you put 10,000 hours to something, that's when you actually become a master at it. 10,000 hours. And so until you put that time in, until you put those reps in, don't expect greatness out of yourself. Don't expect that everything is going to be perfect. Perfectionism, get rid of it. All right. It's just a story. It's just a ploy for you not pursuing the thing that you're really not that good at. And that can be harsh to hear, but it's very true. It's like, okay, yes, perfectionism, but don't utilize that as a story that you're telling yourself with why you can't pursue something. Know in this learning zone that it is meant for you, that just because there's challenge, that just because there's adversity, doesn't mean that you can't do the thing. You got to keep freaking going. And so we go from this zone 1, this comfort zone. We go to this zone 2, this fear zone. We get into zone 3, the wow, I have a lot to learn zone. Okay. And then finally, for those few, and I say few for a reason, is because there is actually only a few percentage out of a lot of the population that ever get to this zone. And this zone 4 is what is called the growth zone. And this is what I specifically call the wait, I didn't die zone. And what I mean by this is you lived through the scary thing that you didn't think that you could do. Okay. You did the thing that you questioned, that you wondered if you were capable of, and you got here. And now the question in your brain is, well, shoot, if I can do that, like, what else can I do in this life? Like, what else am I capable of? Because I knew that I didn't think that I could do that, but wait, I just did it. Like, I just proved myself wrong. And so if I just did that, like, what else am I settling for in my life that I might not think that I'm capable of? And this is all the reason why we do our events, right? To give experience to women, to be scared, to do it anyway, and to break a belief of what they're capable of. And when you guys do that, y'all better watch out. Your family better watch out. Your friends better watch out. You better watch out, because you have another level of you coming, right? And she's coming, and she's not stopping, and she's in pursuit of that next level version of you. And so if we can get you here to that growth zone, past the fear zone, past the learning zone, and you show yourself actually that you can do the thing, you are uncovering more of you that you already have been inside. That's the beauty of it. You're not stepping into somebody else. You're not stepping into levels of you that you have to just create. All of this stuff has already been within you. Like I said, in my opinion, God's given you all of the potential that is already within you right here. But it's going to take you stepping into that next level to unlock it. You're just unlocking new levels within yourself. It's like a video game, right? I'm just getting to level 2 and then I'm getting to level 3. The whole video game had all the levels to it. Ooh, I like this analogy actually. Ooh, I might need to take this to my clients. This whole video game, whatever video game that you played. I remember I used to play what was that one called? Oh, it was the guy with the little fox. Oh, okay. I'll let y'all know in the next episode what it was. But like, there were new levels. Right? Get stuck at one and I'd get frustrated. Like, that whole video game. Oh, it wasn't Smash Brothers. Dang it, that's gonna drive me crazy. Whatever that video game was. But that video game had all the levels already in it. I didn't create new levels as I kept leveling up. Like, it had all the levels in it. But what I had to do is jump over this thing, go under this hurdle, push here, drive here, right? Pop, for those that played, oh my gosh, words are like escaping my brain of video games. The one, Luigi and Mario Brothers. For those that played Mario Brothers, like, you would pop up to that box and then the little mushroom would come down and then you would get that little mushroom. Like all you had to do was navigate that, and then it moved you to level 2. This is the same stinking analogy when it comes with these zones. All you're doing, this adversity, this challenge, this obstacle, this opportunity, All you're doing is playing a game and navigating this game. And then you got the mushroom, and then you get to that next level. Most people their entire lives stay on level 1. They stay on level 1. How silly is that? That most people their entire lives, they don't even get to a level 2 because they do the right thing. They live for everybody else. Like they stay exactly in their comfort zone, this level 1 zone. They stay there. And so they never get to see what's on the other side. And for those that have played video games, I'm not even a big gamer, right? But this is just a great analogy. But for those that play video games, know that when you get to the next level, like there's more exciting obstacles. There's more exciting like different scenes and different things like that. It's not that it's just like, whoop, everything goes away and I just sail off into the sunset. No, there's still different levels, but you take with what you've had from level 1 and then you can apply it to level 2. And then that next obstacle at level 2, then you apply it to level 3. It's the same dang on thing with you unlocking it within yourself, okay? And so like I said, the problem is, and I'm going to single women out here, is that so many women get stuck in zone 2 because they're fearful of it, because they don't think that they're capable of it, and so it's not meant for them. And they let their fears dictate their actions. Once again, they let their emotions dictate the actual outcome that they have. So if I could summarize this entire episode with one quote, it's that fear is the confirmation that your dream is worth pursuing. Fear is the confirmation. The hesitation, the doubt, the questioning is the confirmation that that dream is actually worth pursuing. That idea is actually worth going after. And so can we lean into it instead of away from it? Instead of fleeing away from the fear, instead of running back and be like, well, I just can't do that. Can we lean into that? And once again, I have to disclaimer this because some people will take this out of context and be like, well, if I'm afraid of, jumping off a bridge, that means I should jump off a bridge. No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, please use some common sense here, right? And once again, I'm not saying quit your job and move to Australia and just like zen out in the woods. But I am saying if you're a little bit of fearful, lean into that. If it's something that is deep in your heart and it's good for the world and it's good for you and it's good for others around you, like lean into that. Don't lean away. And so when fear is telling you you can't, you shouldn't, why are you even trying to pursue, you're not able to, I want you to think about that rocking chair. And if you have no idea what the rocking chair, go back to episode 1 or 2. I can't remember which one it is, right? And I want you to think about that version of you. And I want you to think that version of me, that Kelsey, that Susie, that Julie, that Stacy, whoever you are, that version of me needs me to do this. Fear is telling me this, but that version of me needs me to pursue this. And so now I want you to think back to that small nudge, that dream, that little thing deep inside of your heart. Once again, go back to episode 2 if you didn't listen to that one. And then I want you to think about the buts. But ... But I can't do because. But this isn't the best time because. But later's a better time. But I'm not able to because, right? The laundry list of buts. And I want you to get these buts out in the world. All the reasons why you can't, you won't be able to, you're not capable of yet. And they're going to be sneaky, just like I said at the beginning of this podcast, is some of them might even make a ton of sense. Some of them logically might be like, well, duh, like that makes so much sense. And once again, I'm not saying spend thousands of dollars and put yourself in debt, right? Be smart, have common sense when you're listening to me. But I want you to look at some of those stories that you're telling yourself. And sometimes those risks, like we want to take calculated risks, sometimes those risks actually aren't risks. Sometimes those like calculated risks actually is a lot less scary than you getting to the end of your life and thinking, well, what did I even do? Like I didn't even pursue what I wanted to pursue. And I hate to break it to you, you only get one shot of this. God willing, we get a really solid shot at this, but we don't continually get so many shots time after time of this. And so I want you to look at some of those stories that you're telling yourself those and why you might be telling yourself to stay stuck or exactly where you're at. And I want you to think about moving through. I want you to really think about looking at those in the eye. And what I say here to when you come to me about a dream or a goal or a physique goal, like whatever that dream is for you, is I tell everybody to write it out, right? Get this out of your brain, get it on a piece of paper. Whatever stays in the dark grows in the dark. Whatever fears or hesitations or doubts or shame stays in the dark, man, that thing will grow in the dark like no other. It will just make itself roots, and then that's actually going to be the story that you're telling yourself. That's going to feel like it's fact to you. So instead of just allowing those fears to dwell and to grow and to flourish, right? I want you to bring those fears to light. I want you to actually pull them out of your brain and put them on a piece of paper. Because when you put them on a piece of paper, you don't realize this, but it's actually bringing those fears to light. And where there is light, those fears have less power. Even as silly as writing it on a piece of paper. You don't even have to tell anybody yet, right? All you got to do is write it on a piece of paper. But I want you to actionably write out all the list of fears that you have for pursuing that thing. All the reasons why you can't, all the reasons why you shouldn't. Bring every single one of those to light. And this might be harsh to hear, but I tell you this because I want to see you do well and I want to see you win here, is you're going to realize that those fears and those justifications, you're not special with them. Even the people that are actually getting the goals or the dreams that you're after, they have those same fears. They're just doing it anyway. And I know there's somebody listening to this on the other side of the podcast that is exactly what you needed to hear. You are about 30 minutes into this, and that is the thing that you needed to hear. That the people that you see of like, oh man, that's so cool, or oh, I wish I could do that, or man, like I wish I could do that. They still have all those fears. They're just doing it anyway, right? They're just not letting those fears talk. They're just not letting them stop them. They still have the doubts. They still have the hesitations. 6-time reigning champion Olympia says there's no such thing as unwavering confidence 24/7, and I don't believe in that either. But they still have that. You're not special with having those specific fears, right? There's a form of it probably in other people, but they're just doing it anyway. And so the only difference between you and somebody that's actually pursuing what you want to pursue is their ability to have the fears and take action anyway. And guys, I know that can be hard to hear, but I'm here to not keep you comfortable. I'm here to not just say rainbows and sunshine to you. I'm here to actually give you the tools to take a step. And these are the hard conversations I continually have with myself to not just say this stuff, but to pursue it. In pursuit of this 100-miler or building this business or the announcement that's coming Monday, I cannot tell you how many still, and I won't even call them fears anymore. Like I don't even view them as fears. I just view them as like little doubts or little hesitations. Like I don't even give it that weight of fear. And even as 100-mile, like I'm 10 weeks out from this event or this big thing, I can't even fathom doing a quarter of the distance. Like I can't even fathom running a marathon right now. 100-miler is a little bit less than 4 times that, right? Like that's crazy to me. Some people might think like, oh my gosh, like how are you going to do it then? I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. Like it'll happen, right? But I don't let that stop me. I don't let those doubts hold me back, right? And so once again, the only difference between you and the person that's doing it is they have the same emotions, they have the feelings, but they're just taking action anyway. They're just taking steps anyway. And so my challenge for you is write this out, right? Write out the big laundry list. But as you're writing out that laundry list, know that you're bringing to light, and then listen in a few podcasts. There's a whole nother step that I'm going to build off of. Love you guys. Thank you for joining here. Once again, the challenge here is to get you to seek the edge. These 4 zones are exactly it, right? How can we not let good enough hold us back from great? And if I can spark that in you, but then also give you the actionable tools to freaking do it, let's go, baby. We're making it better. So please share this episode. Message me on Instagram at Kelsey Lensman. What really hit home? Tag me as you share it because I'll share it on my social too. And I would love to hear what one thing hit home with you and what maybe one of your fears are. Because once again, I think you'd be amazed about how many I still have. And I don't think they're necessarily always going to go away, but I give less power to them. I don't let them be in the driver's seat. And that's usually the biggest game changer. So love y'all. Have an amazing week and go crush it.